What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Aurora's Top Picks, where we dive into the best of the past and revisit the things that shaped us. Today, we're talking about something that's got nostalgia written all over it, the top 25 best-selling video games of the 90s. These games didn't just sell millions, they defined an era. If you grew up in the 90s, this episode is about to hit you right in the feels. If you didn't, you're in for a deep dive into the games that paved the way for everything we know and love about gaming today.
I can already feel the nostalgia creeping in. The 90s were a golden age for gaming. Nintendo was still on top, PlayStation came in and revolutionized everything, and even Sega had its moments. The 1990s was the decade that made gaming mainstream.
Right? It wasn't just about playing games anymore. It was about having these experiences that would stick with you forever. Whether you were on an SNES, a Game Boy, or the new PlayStation, it felt like every new release was a big deal.
Exactly, and honestly, this list is a walk down memory lane. But let's get our listeners involved right from the start. We want to know, if you could go back and relive one 90s video game for the first time again, which one would it be? Don't even try to cheat and say the whole Pokemon series. Pick one. We'll give you a second to think about it.
All right, now that you've got your answer, make sure you drop it in the comments or hit us up on social media. We need to know your pick. I've got a feeling there's going to be some heated debates on this one.
Now, let's jump into these bestsellers. We're starting with the absolute biggest hits of the 90s, and trust me, these games shaped the entire gaming culture. First up, the best-selling game of the decade.
Pokemon Red, Green, and Blue. 31 million copies sold worldwide. This wasn't just a game, this was a phenomenon. If you were around in the 90s, you know that Pokemon wasn't just about catching them all. It was about living the adventure. You were trading Pokemon at school, battling in the playground, and dreaming about your next big Pokemon battle.
Right? And you were all in. There was no in-between. Pokemon wasn't just a game, it was an entire culture. You were playing the Game Boy games, collecting the cards, watching the anime, and of course, trying to get your hands on the rare, shiny Charizard.
That's right, and the starter debate, let's talk about it. Were you a Charmander, Squirtle, or Bulbasaur person?
Oh, I was definitely Squirtle. The Squirtle squad was just too cool to ignore. Plus, Blastoise was an absolute beast.
I get it, but for me, it was always Charmander. I couldn't resist the Charizard power. But hey, don't forget Bulbasaur. He was the quiet, reliable one that carried the team early on.
And if you think about it, Pokemon helped define the 90s in a way no other game could. I mean, when Pokemon Red and Blue dropped, it was almost like the whole world just clicked into place. Everything was Pokemon.
Exactly. And speaking of things that defined the 90s, let's move on to Tetris on the Game Boy. Now we're talking about a classic. Over 35 million copies sold worldwide. Tetris wasn't just a game. It was an obsession.
Totally. Tetris was one of those games that literally everyone played, whether you were a kid or an adult. The simplicity of it was just so addictive. And then there was the fact that it was on the Game Boy, that portable magic that let you take it anywhere.
Man, the Tetris effect. If you've ever played for long enough, you know what I'm talking about. And you start seeing blocks falling even when you're not playing. That's next level obsession.
Yeah, you'd be sitting in class daydreaming about how to fit the blocks together, or in the car mentally rotating shapes in your head. It was just that addicting.
Now let's talk about a game that redefined 3D gaming, Super Mario 64. I mean, when that game came out, it wasn't just a new Mario game, it was a game changer. The first time you got to fully explore a world in 3D, that was like stepping into a whole new dimension.
Right? The ability to move Mario around in 3D space, it was like you were inside the game. The freedom was insane. And don't even get me started on those star challenges. It was never just about the destination, it was about the adventure along the way.
And the music, man. That theme still gets stuck in my head to this day. It's like every time you step into a new room or area, that song plays, and it just feels magical.
Exactly. Super Mario 64 laid the groundwork for almost every 3D platformer after it. There's no doubt that it changed the course of gaming forever.
Absolutely. Now, for all you multiplayer fans out there, we've got the next one that's bound to bring back some crazy memories. GoldenEye 007. I don't care who you were or what your gaming preferences were, GoldenEye was the game that got everyone together.
Man, I'll never forget the chaos of those split-screen matches. And listen, there was a golden rule, no odd job.
If you picked Odd Job, we couldn't even be friends. It was an unspoken rule. But let's be real. The 4-player split-screen multiplayer was next level. You didn't just play against the game, you played against your friends. And that was where the real fun was.
And the levels, facility, archives, they were iconic. And those cheat codes, they were just as legendary. DK mode, anyone?
DK mode was wild. Those big heads, those massive arms, it was pure chaos.
All right, let's shift gears and talk about something that changed the way we looked at adventure games. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Some people still consider it the greatest game ever made.
Absolutely. I mean, it had everything. Action, puzzles, amazing storytelling, and that time travel mechanic that was revolutionary for its time. And the soundtrack. Let's not even get started on how the Ocarina's music still haunts us in the best way possible.
That's right. The game made you feel like you were part of something bigger than just a game. It was like you were living through Link's journey, and it felt like every decision you made had an impact.
To this day, there are people who still rank Ocarina of Time as the top game of all time. That's how much it influenced the industry. It's an absolute masterpiece.
All right, we're coming down to the final stretch, and I've got to ask you, Aurora, if you could pick one game from the 90s to play for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
That's a tough one, but I think I've got to go with Super Mario 64. It's a game that never gets old. It's a game I can always come back to, and it always feels like a new adventure.
Great choice. For me, though, it's still GoldenEye 007. That game just had that perfect mix of multiplayer chaos, tactical gameplay, and those cheat codes. It's not just a game, it's the ultimate party experience.
Totally agree. It's one of those games that defined so many friendships. And when you think about it, these games didn't just entertain us. They gave us memories that would last a lifetime.
Exactly, and that's what makes these games so special. The experience of playing them was everything. It wasn't just about finishing the game, it was about the laughs, the competition, and all those moments that brought us together.
100%. And now, we want to hear from you. We've covered some iconic games today, but we know there are so many more out there that defined your 90s gaming experience. What was your go-to game in the 90s? What made it stand out for you, and what memories do you still carry with you? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear your stories. And hey, if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Share this podcast with your fellow 90s gamers. We've got more throwbacks, more deep dives, and more epic conversations coming your way.
That's right. Make sure you're ready for the next episode because we're just getting started. Thanks for tuning in, and remember to keep those memories alive. No matter what game it was, it's all about the fun and the friendships we made along the way.
Exactly. You've been listening to Aurora's Top Picks. We'll catch you next time with more awesome throwbacks, more nostalgia, and more laughs. Until then, keep playing, keep reminiscing, and remember, it's always a good time when you're gaming with friends.
See you next time, and stay nostalgic.